Recorded August 20th, 2026 at an abysmal 5:11 p.m. Good afternoon, Gary. Good afternoon, Franklin. How are you doing?
All right. How are you?
I'm all right, man. Franklin, how are you?
I've had less expensive days, weeks.
Home ownership is a scam, is what you're saying. Yeah, man. Everybody, Rod is going to be on the show. He'll be a little late. He's having some home ownership issues. So did Franklin. Gary and I are just easy riding. But we have a guest.
So far.
Yeah. We have a guest, and to be respectful of their dedication and willingness to come on because of the 6-hour time zone difference, I believe, we'll keep our, I won't say recap, up caps of the show pretty brief. Frank, what you break this week?
My car, my air conditioning unit. That's all I gotta say.
That's it. What did you do cool this week? Anything?
No, nothing cool. I'm retiring. Gonna start learning how to play pickleball. Not worry about any of this stuff. That's what I'm
You and I
There you
talked
go.
about that. Yeah. We don't know if we're gonna do pickleball and stuff like that. All right, I give it to you. You've had a week. We talked, so life gets in the way of trying to do work in tech. So Gary, what about yourself?
I just had an interesting conversation as to whether when you do a chat that calls a skill, is that considered an agent or not? That took far longer than I would have expected to come up with an answer.
Say that one more time.
So if I have a chat, like I'm talking to Copilot, and that calls a skill to perform an action, is that considered an agent?
Franklin, what do you think?
So in agent itself, so that I'm kind of changing the way that I say these things because I look at the three different pieces, right? Which is number one is the harness, and the number two is the agent. The agent is basically the connection and the context that you're sending to the LLM. The LLM and inference sends back the results to the agent, and then the agent does with it what it wants, and then the harness does with it what it wants from an orchestration or working with it from there. So it all matters how you're doing the application, but normally from like a Microsoft agent framework standpoint, to talk to the LLM, you're probably going to be code-wise using an agent, which is actually loading in the skill, which is just text into the context going out to the LLM.
So the short answer is yes.
But we came up with a definition that the skill doesn't perform an action on your behalf. It wouldn't be an agent. It could go out and find information for you, but is that performing an action?
So an agent itself, right? The reason why you have skills, so I want you to take a look at actions or MCP servers that you hear about or MCP or whatever. So basically what you're doing is before you talk to the LLM, you put in there, hey, I have these skills and I have these actions that I can either load in for you or I can perform these actions for you, okay? So then the LLM gets the prompt, has that information, says, oh, look, I could use that skill, right? Or I could have you call that action for me. So then it responds back to the agent code and says, hey, can you load this skill for me? And so a skill in essence is just basically context management. So you're not overloading the context because basically you're in the first place, you're sending in the skill, the name and the description, right? And an action that you're doing is just a name and a description. So then when the LLM can request the skill or request an action to be performed and get those results sent back in full from what you had before, then for it to then perform its action. Because when you look at a skill, what you don't want to do is you don't want to load all of that skill text into the context when you initially call the agent. You're just basically going to give it a description, then have the LLM request that skill and all that text that goes along with the skill. Same thing about the LLM requesting an action to take place, and then your agent code runs that action for it, gets the results, and then sends it back to the LLM, which then does its processing and then communicates back to your agent. So a lot of this, so the skills are a lot around context engineering, context management for working with the LLM. So you don't overload. And of course, saves you money because you don't have to loading all that stuff anyways.
Sounds good.
Like a plan. With me, a lot of Agent 365 stuff, talking about it, some Purview stuff today. I had a customer ask me a question. It said, can I use an agent to do something with trainable classifiers around the context of, or can Purview look at create a classified I can't think what it was now. I'm having a blank. Trainable classification of anyone using prompts in AI around, should I hire this person? Should I fire this person? What's this person impact? Do this and that. And I'm like, probably you don't want to try to do that. You want to, they want to do it in co-work. I'm like, well, co-work is going to have guide rails. It's not going to allow you to do that. You need to build an agent and give it a deception to be able to do these things and connect back. But it was interesting to hear it. And I'm like, well, I think you need, and we'll ask our guest who's a Purview expert, maybe this will be the question we vet him on really quick, right? What's the minimum amount of examples you need to
Free
have
consulting work.
to create a classification, something or another. So with that being said, Rod's not here. Other than that, man, I've been playing in GCP. Got some AWS turned on, and I got the chance to look at how CrowdStrike does their AIDR. So it's different. It's a lot of setup, and I found that heavy-handed. But I guess if you set it up right and build the templates, the subsequent going forward is not as bad. But we can talk about it later. With that being said, I'm going to bring our guest in. Julian!
Hi, guys.
Guten Tag. Yes, it's eaten.
Yeah, it's a bit late here in Germany, so hi.
Hi, it's a little late in Germany, yeah. So to our listeners and everyone, I have the pleasure of meeting Julian at the MVP Global Summit March in Redmond. And he is a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional in Purview, and I'm sure other things. But I'll allow him to introduce himself properly, and then we'll get into the show. So, Julian, please introduce yourself, sir.
Thanks. Yeah, my name is Julian. I'm from Germany. I'm a Microsoft MVP for Purview, and since the beginning of July, also for Copilot. And yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing all the time. I'm working as a consultant, mostly on Purview, and always like on the side, like to say forbid things or make things less fun, so that people cannot play around with everything with the agents or Copilot, and so everything around data classification, data loss prevention, and my favorite topics are around like insider risk management and e-discovery. So I'm more like on the forensic side of stuff, and that's why if you see some, I don't know, post or something, I always take like this Sherlock Holmes theme, because you're always like thinking about like you have so much information, you have to reduce it to what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is nowadays one of the hardest challenges you're facing, because we have so much information, we have so much data, and it doesn't matter if you have an agent, if you have just Gen AI, or if you're just playing around with your files in SharePoint, in OneDrive, on your notebook, somewhere on-prem. What's important, what's not important, and how do you exfiltrate maybe data? Because one of my favorite questions I'm always asking if I'm on stage and giving a speech is, who has stolen some data? Yeah, and everyone's like looking away, like, well, I don't know what you mean. Then I'm going to ask you the next question, like, okay, who has sent something to their private email account? And then you see people like looking down at the face, like, oh, no, never done this before. And I think this is like something that's really interesting. And if you're digging in all this AI agent stuff, things get even more complicated. On the forensic side, to see what really happened and who did what.
Yeah. You know what? Let me split hairs. I don't have any. Let me find one and split it. did you really steal the data if the data is still in the place, or did you just copy the data? It's not like stealing a car. Like if I stole Frank's car and he came outside, the car is gone, so it's stolen. But it's a car stolen if I go get Frank's car, go out, do all type of nefarious things, and do all this stuff and put it back in the driveway before you notice it. I mean, it's
Well, it's
Tell you what,
yeah,
go to a government
yeah.
building, steal or copy some of the data, and see what you get charged with.
Yeah, it's like I want you to say like, okay, maybe just have a look on the other side of the world from your perspective. Look at China if they are copying stuff. Well,
Yeah.
they're just copying things. So you know.
Yeah, you're right. I think the rule of stolen is not so much the absence of the thing that you have. It is access and doing whatever else to that particular entity without permission.
Yeah.
There you go. So when I met you up at the MVP Summit in Redmond, it was great to meet you. Rod and I were there, and everybody was full of energy. You had to be like 300 plus people.
You were jumping out of the van.
I was jumping out of a van. Like,
right to me, like Julian.
yeah, dude, I remember like maybe you thought you were about to be abducted. You're like, what is this dude doing? Right? I was jumping out of a van. So I don't think we've had MVPs on the show. I think you may be our first Purview MVP on the show.
Oh.
Purview is his own thing.
Alistair's probably.
Alistair's a Purview MVP?
I would think so.
I thought he was a co-pilot and something else MVP.
No. He's the one that I worked with on SC400 stuff.
Oh,
So-
wow. Alistair, you know what? I was just playing. I remember our buddy out in Australia. I'm sorry, you're right. He's MVP. He didn't show up in Redmond, so he doesn't count. How about that? No, I don't want to do that. Alistair, you're a friend of the show. Golly. I feel so ashamed. I'm actually blushing. So with that being said, Purview seems to be this massive thing that while the totality of the Microsoft ecosystem is growing and shrinking at the same time, the Purview thing seems to be more and more conversations. Like that's not my realm of expertise, and if you want to equate subject matter expertise, but today I was working inside of Agent 365, and when you go to the overview landing screen and you see these recommendations, everything had a pivot to Purview. There was a button. So if you had to say, what is the super importance of why Purview is so ingrained into what Microsoft's frontier strategy, aka Agent 365, how is that becoming super prominent, and how do you think Purview is going to grow within that thing? Because it's everywhere right now. Like,
Yeah.
Even though it's not my thing, and people ask me, hey, we need you to come on and talk about these agents of Purview, which I got to do next week.
So to be fair, Purview was important also like 5 years ago or 10 years ago, or even way before there was existing Purview, because the baseline of Microsoft Purview is data classification, and this is important. It's not a sexy topic, but it's like a super important topic. And the whole AI wave just took everything, and customers are now on the level that they say like, okay, we need it, we have to do, because we lose track. Because the main thing is Purview is about data and files. And if you have like AI, which is working with way more files a human would do, those things get way more complicated. And one of the things I think are true is that you are not able to use Gen AI or agents without data classification, even though as a user, not from a company perspective, because there's one really simple example. If you set up a prompt and you're like, hey, I'm looking for some kind of information, give me a draft of something, I don't know. AI will do that. They will look for 10, 20, 50, depends on what kind of solution you use, data, files somewhere, which you have access to. and they will grab everything and they will give you a document, and then there will be like the question with whom you're allowed to share this information. To answer that question, you need to check the sources, but that's kind of boring, honestly. Even if you're like, people told me, like when I was back in university, they said like, hey, if you use Wikipedia, you cannot use Wikipedia as your source. You have to check like the sources from that article. But who really did that? Because that's kind of the boring work. If I want to work with AI, I want to be more efficient. I want to do more fun stuff and not checking like the references. And you could do that, but most people will not. So you do not know if this is confidential, highly confidential, internal. I have no idea. I got a new document, I got information, I'm going to share it. And oversharing, which is not like something new, but it's get way faster exposed, because I have no idea. I didn't open that file. I don't know that file path anymore. I don't know that project folder. I do have access. I can take it. And this is, I think, one of the main simple reasons why you have to use Purview, compared to all those, oh no, I'm super feared that this document could be processed by AI. This is like the second thing. So I need to know what kind of information, how heavy, how sensitive this information is. And from a company perspective, you also have like the thing like, I want to prevent data from being processed by AI. So, and I think those two things are one of the main reasons why you see like Purview everywhere. And Microsoft also needs to find a place where they put this. It's not like the actual security. It's not like something against prompt injection or something. But this more user-faced security or technical compliance, which it is. They need to find a place where to put it, and if they put it too much into security, people will block it. They will block a lot of things, because that's how security is working. We're going to block 100%, or we're not going to block something. And they want to find something in between. And if you're like in between this gray area of security, well, you will have to go to Microsoft Purview.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you. How important in your day-to-day life is Purview audit?
So I do a lot. I do also a lot of like insider risk management and e-discovery. So it is super important, because I have to work with the audits, obviously, because I have to understand what actually happened, and not only how's the file look like. But I know that most people don't touch it at all. Let's put it that way. But they should. It's like the question is always about how important are logs.
Yeah.
If there's no reason to use them, they are absolutely not important. If something happened, you're really happy if you have them.
So Franklin is one of the individuals that helps facilitate generating certain exams to be taken. So let's go off topic. Let's just talk about education right now. It's been about a year, Franklin, correct me if I'm wrong, that the SC 400 went away and SC 401, I believe. Was that a significant change from the way that data classification and stuff was measured in the Microsoft exam to the 401? Because I get mixed reviews. You know, Trevor's listened to the thing and a few others out here, and they go, man, I studied for the 400 and blah, 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 and it's all changed and everything.
So you're taking me back a year, and then there's some changes made after. So, you know, a year is a long time ago for me on how much content, you know, that's when content has been archived in my brain here. So basically, when they went to 401, it's because they were trying to get rid of the compliance stuff and more focused on the information protection related content. And then at first, there was not the data security posture management stuff in there outside dealing with the data side of that, not the file side, which they did add in. And that's actually been maturing over time. So it's more of a move away from strict compliance and more on the information protection with AI coming in at the time.
Okay.
So that's why the change took place.
Yeah. Well, let me change the question then. It's part of being an MVP. Is one of the requirements to take the relative exams to your subject matter expertise or domain. Did you ever have the chance to have to sit the 401, Julian?
I actually did the 401 at Ignite last year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, golly.
I passed. It was not like it was like really on the edge to be fair. So I think it wasn't an easy one. It wasn't an easy one, even for me who's working with those stuff on a day-to-day basis. It wasn't like an easy one. So
but the thing about Purview is that knowing the difference between a policy and a label policy is just can get very confusing easily just in the terminology.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest challenge I would think for test takers and just even educating customers about utilizing the product.
That's true. If you go for the difference between like a warning or an alert and Purview itself is such a huge area. It's pretty much growing from month to month, and to cover at least a bit of that in an exam, because you could like do like 10 different exams in that Purview area, because all those topics are so different. They are all attached to each other, but on the other side they are also different because they're looking from so different angles.
Yeah.
How often do you use content search?
I didn't use content search at all because I don't like it. I'm using the e-discovery, and I'm kind of happy that the content search moved at least to an own case, because I think if you're looking for something, then there should be like a reason, and then you should build your own container. But since I do e-discovery, I'm using the content search engine kind of a lot. And there are also like some things I'm happy and I'm not that happy with it.
Purview is its own to me. And like I said, I'm not in the data security arena. And oddly enough, I sort of started my career going down that road. Remember, compliance manager and all that other stuff. And I was a big MCAS guy, cousin of that. And I've got to show you something funny because I did think it still was up, but let me share my screen really quick. I just want everybody to give me their comments on it. Let me share my screen real quick. All right, how do you do that? Click here, share screen, and tell me everybody's thoughts on this, that this thing still exists.
Wow.
It's still there.
Wow.
So, and I'm like, well, so this actually came up on a customer call about say, hey, we're using Purview. What is going to happen with this? You guys would deprecate. And I was like, oh, I thought that was already done and gone already. But look at it. It's still here. And risk privacy, subject matter request, subject knowledge center. But you can see subject rights request announced through Purview or e-discovery premium. I found it. Have you had to encounter that people are trying to transition whatever the components or artifacts from Microsoft Purview over to Purview? I think I'm saying that right. Purview over to Purview. Are you still encountering this at all?
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions, and I also reached out to Microsoft and was asking like, okay, is there some way to migrate something, or is everything gone? And the answer was like really strict, like, no, we're not migrating anything. Please start using Microsoft Purview e-discovery.
Oh, so this sounds like this is a prime opportunity for consulting time to be able to say, let me investigate this to be able to get you over. But the biggest thing that I saw that looks like what they're most concerned about bringing over is saying, go to Microsoft Purview e-discovery. So the subject rights must be that piece.
Let me ask you, I mean, Prevo is definitely to me is different than e-discovery. I mean, from a purpose standpoint. So it seems kind of strange.
Yeah.
The purpose is different. The engine itself, which is sitting underneath, is exactly the same. And I think the biggest problem was like the licensing model.
Yeah. So to go through, the data map, I haven't really touched this, and the only reason I went to it is because, wow, it switched me over right to Purview inside my test tenant already, which is crazy. But someone asked me about it, and I had to take a double take because I actually didn't remember what they were talking about. I'm like, Microsoft, what? I was like, oh, that thing. I thought that was decommissioned like 2 or 3 years ago, but this is what it is. If with more of Purview becoming more prominent, I'll give you two things. What's one of your favorite features that when you go in, this is how you show your bang for the buck because you're a consultant, and when you make people go, oh my God, this is cool. And what is one of the things that you think that Purview, like, what is the cool thing that you use in Purview now that you show off that helps land a deal? And what is one of the things like, man, I guess I wish these guys would do this. This will make my job easier.
One of the things most customers do like is if I open Outlook, I use some magic keywords, apply a label on that email, gonna send it to someone external, the email gets blocked, I use the override feature, gets a justification, then I can send it, and later on I can show you the justification in the audits. This is something where like, oh, that is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Because this is one of the things where I think that's like the main difference between compliance and security, because we do have confidential information, and confidential information from a business perspective can leave the company if you tell me just why. Just give me a reason why you have to do that. Compared to security, who would just easily say like, this is confidential, no, it's going to stay inside. And yeah, I could tell you one thing that would make my life way, way easier is if I have a different possibility to block AI except of double key encryption.
Say that one more time. To be able to block AI from what again?
I want to prevent a document, or I want to protect the document from AI itself. The only way to do that, if this document is in the cloud, or the only really practical way, is to use double key encryption. Otherwise, the document will be in the semantic index, which is somehow AI, which is processing the document. You're just not getting a response. And this is like a legal difference, because if you're not allowed, if there are documents, if there are information like healthcare data, which is forbidden from being touched by AI at all, that is so fucking complicated. And if you just spin this around, I don't know, have like a shared mailbox, say like this should not be touched by Copilot. That's not that easy. So those things would make my life way easier if Purview had this possibility.
I see what you're saying. The semantic index is being able to they have an operational or accessible vault to be able to see something, but not make it really available so that these agents and other stuff can get to it to do their stuff. You're the second person to say something about that within the last month, and I didn't quite understand what they were talking about. I'm like,
to make it maybe just a bit more understandable. If a document is not allowed, or if information is not allowed to be processed by AI, that doesn't mean that an agent is generating a response and I get an answer from it. It means that this document is not allowed to be sent to an LLM at all. Doesn't matter if I, as a user, get information from it, or a system gets information from it. And the semantic index is pretty much like a system. So I upload a document to SharePoint. A document will be put into the semantic index. And that is not because of an algorithm. It's because of an LLM. And from a really technical perspective, this is AI, which is doing it. And the only way to prevent this is, to be fair, not uploading the documents to M365. What if you're using Exchange Online? Honestly, there's literally no way. It makes it really, really complicated. You can use double key encryption, but that's expensive and also complicated.
So if you tell SharePoint not to index a document, AI will still index it?
Yeah, it is. So you have the semantic, you have the index, and then you have the semantic index. So these are two different ones. The semantic index is something which showed up in the moment the world was seeing AI, because that's like this vector room AI needs to work. And I need something which say like, okay, you're allowed to be indexed. So if you search something within SharePoint, you can find the document, but the document should not be in the semantic index. So the document should not have a vector. And this is the only way to do this, except if you can say like, okay, this whole SharePoint site should not be indexed at all, but that's not like a good thing you should do. You could say, I encrypting the document so that Microsoft is not able to open it. So I could use this from a completely different software, but that's not like really user-friendly. Or I use sensitivity labels combined with double key encryption. But that's like really expensive and complicated to set up.
So you can do it, but there's no easy solution right now.
No easy, and honestly, most companies are not able to afford this.
And then I can imagine it would be extremely slow for whatever index you be. I think I understand. I'm trying to click around in my system here to try to see what you're saying. When you're looking at Purview, we've had several shows on for partners that are a Purview solution providers, Purview designated experts, and everything else. And one of the particular shows that we had, that I think we had one of our guests, Nathan, came on from Cyclotron, and the show was titled Top Reasons That a Purview Project Fails, right? So I'm not going to ask you to give us the top 5 or 10. In your experience as your consultant, give me 1 or 2 things that let us know that why Purview adoption projects fail. And I'm going to narrow it down. You can't use executive buy-in. Let's assume that the powers that be said, Julie, you're the keys to the kingdom. We need to get this going on for whatever reason. What is the number 1 thing that you find that if you come into a statement of work and you can't execute the statement of work, and if the project, I don't like to use the word fail, but the project doesn't go expected, what is the number 1 reason when you come in and you start pulling, and you have a lot of hair, I don't, what's the number 1 reason you pull your hair? Like, what are you guys doing?
It's pretty much because you said, why does a Purview adoption project fails?
Yes.
Well, because there's no adoption. I'm just going into that room. I'm just sitting with IT security guys, and they look at me and say like, configure Purview. That's the number 1 reason why Purview projects fail. It is maybe 10 or 20% technical, 80 to 90% it's people business. So it is not an IT project at all. I need compliance, legal, business. If I do not have those people in the room, it's going to fail.
Okay. And then Gary put something in the private chat. Yeah, that's true right there too, Gary. I see it. I'm show it on the screen, let everybody see it. You know, number 1 reason that Purview projects fail. You get all the people that said this is so important, and this is the reason that it fails. Nobody.
Everyone, or also very good. Everyone is pinpointing like who's in charge? Who's responsible for Purview?
Right.
IT says it's compliance, so it's their compliance team. Compliance teams that tell you like, hey, that's an admin portal. It's IT, and then
even inside Purview itself, with all the different areas, who's in charge of each one?
oh yeah, don't make it too complicated. I'm happy if someone at least put the hat on and say like, hey, I'm responsible for Purview at all.
I think that in my little brief time that I've had to come in and sort of pretend like I was a Purview guy, it is when nobody takes ownership and inadvertently it falls into legal, and then legal goes, oh well, you can't do that, or you can't do this, or you can't do this. So, but I don't work in that realm anymore. One of my old co-hosts, Brody, was Brody a Purview person, Frank?
I'm sure it was at some point.
No, he was. Brody,
Yeah. You start out with the Purview side.
Yeah, I started on Purview side and did those things. And there's so much about it that we could actually do a week's worth of stuff if you want to get into the technical bits about how Purview operates and do all this other stuff. But then let me narrow the scope down a little bit. Microsoft announced last year that if you are an E5 M365 E5 customer, for every 1,000 licensed users you have, you get 400 SCUs, and SCUs are the de facto transactional currency that's used to power Security Copilot. And now it is the thing that's used to power the agents that operate either as a Security Copilot. And now I'm finding out that you can use SCUs to power some other agentic technologies inside of Microsoft. So with that being said, how is the agentic agents, both out of the box that come by virtue of just turning it on, seeing it, going to Security Copilot, turn on the plugin, putting it in, how is that affecting the way you consult? Is that part of your consultative delivery that when you leave a project, you've enabled a certain amount of agents that can work in Purview? Because I think right now, out of the box, if I look at the plugins, there are four Security Copilot Purview agents. I'll just say Purview agents. I don't want to use Security Copilot. How involved is that when you're doing your consultative business now that you have have you left a Purview project and not left an agent running or in some form or fashion?
So my favorite agent is the Insider Risk one.
Insider Risk. Let's take a look.
This is for me. It's my favorite one because it gives you way more context if you have Insider Risk Management. Insider Risk Management alerts are kind of complicated to really narrow down to see, is this an actual alert or is this a false positive or something? And it gives you way more information. It's really, really good. The thing with those agents, it's pretty much the same thing with Security Copilot itself. It is expensive, and just a couple of customers are really, really using them. And in Purview, the big thing is in Germany, for example, we are not that advanced in Purview, but I don't think this is something different in different countries, because most projects I'm gonna see is we're talking about data classification, and data classification to really do the adoption part, it's going to take you minimum of 12 months. So an Insider Risk Management is something which is way more advanced than something as in data classification. So most customers are not using those agents at the moment.
Yeah, and so if I go into a little bit of a demo tenant, you can see that there's different things, and I have this agent which I don't remember deploying, triage agent, but evidently I see the standard and I see policy, adaptive protection policy, a few things that are running, seeing this. And if I go to the standard, look at the date time, adaptive protection for risk management, data leak, quick policies and things. In I don't remember doing a whole lot of this stuff, but I can see here that the agent is deployed regardless, because I have no compute units.
Yeah.
SCUs to be able to run it. So it's there. And I guess whenever you need to be able to enable this, you can. But now that agents are permanent, navigational tile on the left-hand side, and you go to export agents. My thought was, I would have thought you would have had more agents out the box rather than posture agent, alert triage, and DLP, and this right here. You can see a couple of them get started. I don't know what the alert triage and data protection. So if I click get started, everything I can't do anything in this lab. You don't have a security copilot set up in your thing. But if you look at the benefits, speed, time, less time in triaging, prioritize what matters most with customer instructions, take time with clear summaries and everything else. When you are doing these Purview consultative engagements that you have, no scientific number that you have to give, but how much of your stuff is greenfield? First time using Purview, I didn't have this thing in place, or how much is it transitional or displacement against another technology?
Honestly, greenfield, it's 80%. I would say it's greenfield, or let's call it near greenfield. Because most of the companies, they maybe know how to spell Purview. Now people are going to tell them like Purview is important, but they didn't do anything. Or maybe they set up like 1 or 2 test labels and put them onto like 5 documents, and that's all. It's not that, or really, really rarely I see like customers who really messed up. So one of my favorite things I'm going to see if they really messed up is like they configured the label, they put on encryption, obviously, some access controls. Then they created the auto-labeling policy, started to label thousands of documents. Then those IT administrators are panicking. They delete the label. Yeah. And then the real fun starts beginning, how to fix all of those things.
Yeah.
But this is really rarely I see people really playing around. They go in, they see like, oh yeah, that's like 5 clicks, you got a label. They put a label on a document and say like, okay, I've done this. I have no idea what we should do with this. Now let's move back to our main security topics. Which is good. It's way easier to start from greenfield.
For sure. Frank, did you have a question? I'm sorry. I thought I saw you about to raise your hand.
No, I'm good.
So I got another question. I'll lend the floor to Gary and Frank in a second. When you're looking at this Purview thing, and I had the question here, I was trying to go through my lab and show something. When I look at it, I can't quite tell. I don't know where it is. I was trying to look at it. I can't see it right now. I had a question, but I needed to show the graphic to be able to figure it out. So lots of greenfield, easy to do, be able to, I know what it was. I don't see it in here anymore. How often when I sort of started working at Microsoft years ago, when I don't know if I was the compliance guy because they didn't call them there then. I was the guy that did AIP, and all this stuff. Is the AIP or MIP scanner still a viable entity in your Purview, consultative thing? Because that used to be the go-to thing. I would deploy scanners and say, hey, we got to run these scanners out here. We have to scan all these repositories across all these data storage mediums. Is that still a thing? Because I haven't looked at it in a long time. I thought they had deprecated it with some type of back-end discovery mechanism. But is it called the AIP scanner or the MIP scanner now?
It's called is it called MIP or MPIP, Microsoft Purview Information Protection Scanner?
Oh,
I think there's like 4 letters now or something.
Now that you know, it's time to change the name.
Make it even longer. But it is still part. It's still part of the project. I don't use it for auto labeling because I'm not a big fan of auto labeling. It's more because a lot of customers still store data on-prem, or they have like requirements like highly confidential data is not allowed to be stored in the cloud, and they still want to know where is our highly confidential data. So they're using, for example, the scanner.
Yeah, I'm old school, so the aspect of having a scanner seemed like it was cool to me because you install something on a server, it went out and they did this thing. It's the same way that you used to have when you did log collection in MCAS, that you put out the collector to be able to collect these things. Now, if you run an MDE agent, that is automatically putting in the endpoint scanning to be able to create these things. But let me tell you how expansive Purview is from the days, and it looks like, if I'm looking at the solutions inside of it. Matter of fact, let's do another screen share to all our folks. And I know that this is probably rudimentary to some of those who work in this every day. But for me, when I go back and I look at it, it's like, all right, am I showing the right screen here? We have, let me make the screen a little bit bigger so I can see. We have explore all the solutions in here. You got audit, communication compliance, compliance alerts, compliance manager, data lifecycle, data this, data map. Now, the data map is interesting to me. Data policy, data security investigations. I believe that's one of Frank's things. He was like, if you're going to do this, this is probably one of the things you want to look into as a subject matter expert. Data security posture management, right? The classic DSPM, DSMP for AI. I thought that was, I know it's your thing on that. Like, why is it DSPM for AI classic, and then here it doesn't have it?
End of September, you will just find one at least.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at least the other ones should vanish. Yeah.
Yeah. Information barriers, information protection. This looks like a product that you build a career on, and you look at it. Now, one thing that came up in the call that I had was understanding workflows. And so when I went in workflows, I was like, is this like access policy, or this is what you're doing, or this is like checks and balances be to do everything? I didn't understand that. How much do you work in workflows? Because this came up and I literally had to tell the client, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, so the thing is, what you maybe can also show, if you click on settings, you see account and you say account type enterprise. That's not out of the box. Starting, you would see account type free, which is not really true because you're still paying for the license.
Yeah.
But you have to link an Azure subscription to Microsoft Purview. And then you will see enterprise. And if you do that, you will get all those governance features and workflow, data map, unified catalog. This is all pay as you go, and this requires this Azure subscription. And then you see those things. And the workflow, it is something, if you want to request, for example, like access to something from your data map, from your data landscape. And actually, I'm not really specialized in that kind of area. I pretty much know one Microsoft Purview MVP from Denmark who's just playing around with that part. And if I do have a question about that, I'm just going to call Marco and tell him, like, hey, Marco.
Oh, you know Marco?
You have to tell me something, because I have no idea what you're doing there. You're literally the only person I know who really delivers projects in that part.
I know. I follow Marco on LinkedIn and everything else. You know what? Shame on me for not remembering. Frank, have we had Marco on the show? Lauren, I'm not sure yet. If we don't, we'll get him on. And then there's an identity guy that I think is a friend of Marco that I follow on LinkedIn too.
So, Edward, I'm really surprised you did not ask about your favorite product, which is.
I'm about to do it.
Okay. Never mind. I'll let you roll.
I don't get away from not talking about this. So, Julian, let's take Purview out of it. What is your favorite Defender product out of MDE, MDCA, aka MCAS, MDI, or MDO?
Oh, that's so difficult.
And be aware, we have all the project and feature managers from Microsoft on the call right now. They're all watching right now.
That's like a really difficult.
Feel free to choose Sentinel as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Sentinel is a really cool one. It's like more like on the forensic side. Yeah, I do like that one.
Don't give them the out, Gary. You got to choose one of the Defender products.
So
I think I most work with Defender for Endpoint. That's like the one I'm working the most with. because it is linked to endpoint DLP.
Yeah, Milk. I'm surprised because I've done some extensive resource mapping to see how heavy that sensor is getting as they bring in agent discovery client side to it, a few other things to it, and the sensor has remained remarkably light. And I don't trust Task Manager, so I can actually run a third party to look at the actual processes, the PIDs, and everything that goes with it. The sensor has not gotten bloated, even though it's doing the MIP stuff on the end and be able to detect. It even localized agent discovery. So kudos to whoever's over there doing
Aren't they
this.
renaming Purview Defender for Purview? Is that are they doing that?
There is
That
no.
one's going to be renamed soon enough.
Oh, that's crazy. You're right. There is no Defender for Purview. It's just Purview, Microsoft Purview. That's crazy. Well, it will be assimilated. Julian,
At least we do have the Purview plugin for browsers, so that maybe they can call this one like the Defender for Purview.
Purview blocking for browsers. I could see that. The reason that may be viable because I had a customer that wanted to use some type of detection and prevention mechanism that they were using a SaaS cloud product on the same. This is in Europe. This is a very European issue.
We do have problems over here as well, yeah.
Particularly in, I'll just say the UK. I wasn't sure this all over. Part of the compensation package is your device is part of your comp, so you get to use your work device as your personal device. And so people were using SaaS products SaaS cloud products up under their personal login, Gmail, whatever it may be. But they wanted me to be able to stop them from uploading and downloading on the device based on which login context that they have across all the browsers. And I figured it out using a combination of MCAS and some network DLP. It took me a minute, and actually, I won't lie, I lucked up on it when it actually worked. But you have to have single sign-on, so they have to make sure that the login context on that machine dictates whether the rule worked. So where I could download and upload, say, going to Dropbox, but if I tried to do it upon a context that wasn't a company UPN, it didn't work. It literally took me a week, and then I did something and I was about to throw my hands up, and then it worked. I'm like, oh my God, it worked. And generally, when I do stuff like that, I record it. I turn a recorder on in the background because I can't remember what clicks I had. But neither here nor there. Sir, this has been super informative about understanding how deep Purview is going across, and the fact that you are a growing number of individuals that I know are saying that I am a data classification, data discovery, data protection, data whatever else consultant, but I'm seeing people distinctly say I am a Purview guy, and they're getting a lot of work, right, to come over and do these things. I'll go back to this, and I said this on the show. We've been doing this show for 7 years. One of the reasons I got out of it, those projects tend to be long. You cannot get out of them. They're there all day, doing these things. I'll ask one more question before we let you go, because I know it's late at your time. Of the industries that you work in, which is one of your favorite industries to work in, and you're not so desirable? And industries, I'll give you a little context. Let's say financial and medical and manufacturing. Which are the ones that drive you mad?
Let's put it that way. If you have way too much approvals in your way, it's gonna drive me mad. You can think of yourself what kind of industry that is. I think everyone has an idea of that. I like to do things because Purview itself is a really complex or really dry topic. And I like to get things moving and not get like 25 different approvals before maybe changing like a policy tip.
Okay.
So every industry which is straightforward, it's really cool. Everything else, Purview itself takes a long time, and you can easily double the amount of time.
That in itself is a consultant.
Sure, sounds like a good consultant.
Run it through legal, run through all these things to be able to do that. Well, Julian, it's a pleasure, sir. I remember, like you said, laughing at me jumping out of the van up in Redmond, like, what the hell is this guy's doing? And I don't know if I'll be back in March for the next summit, but if it is, I owe you a beer. I
Yeah,
think that
sure. I hope so. I hope you're
do.
back.
I will buy you a cold pint. European guys, man, drink me dry. I had to go take out a loan to pay for the tab. Dealing with everybody I was buying beer for at that time, but it was very good, man. And you're always welcome to come on the show. I know that the time difference. If you're ever in the States, you know how to find us. Look us up, and we'd like to have you. Anytime you want to come on the show, that you want to talk about this, you know what? I have an idea. I'd like to get like minds together. So maybe we get you and we get Alistair on the show at the same time, because he's an MVP for Purview. You're MVP for Purview and Copilot, but I don't think Alistair is an MVP for Copilot. Is he, Frank? I don't know. You got
I don't track it, so you know.
Alistair is one of our guests that have come on, Julian. He's in Australia.
Oh,
and you love his sense of humor. I love talking.
That sounds great. That sounds great. But I do have also some. In the beginning, you were talking about the skill stuff within Copilot.
Yes.
If you're uploading something, and I think it was yesterday where other MVPs I met also were talking about something like this, and then I came up with another question like, when will I be able to classify a skill? Because a skill can also be maybe the skill is confidential for some reasons. And maybe I want some kind of people or some groups of people within a company prevent to use that skill. And if it's a file which I can share around,
I think that's a very good topic. Maybe we have you come back on. Think about that a little bit more, because that skill would definitely be. And for those who came to the show late, I had a request for a classification, a trainable classification around HR, and it was around literally two things: preventing someone from using Cowork or Copilot to search and do stuff around who should I fire, who should I hire, who needs a bonus, who hasn't underperformed. And one of the things we said is that, hey, the guardrails inside the model that Microsoft is using has been modified. It's not going to allow you to run those prompts. It'll literally come back and say, I can't do that. Especially when you start to do specific naming context of an individual that it sees. The thing that we came back with was you need to create an agent outside of the guardrails that you didn't give it permission to be able to go do these things. But that's a good insight to say, when does a skill become classification? Because that skill is inherently going to have information to qualify the answer it gives you. What is their last performance reviews? How much do they make? What do they do? Do they have reports and stuff like that? I didn't think of it that way. And we sort of went down that road, and then it got beyond my ability to sort of reason around it a little bit. Like, I can write an agent, and the first thing you go is it an HR agent. Now, believe me, if we're thinking about it, it's probably not novel. It's probably already created somewhere. But this customer wanted to monitor individuals who were putting those type of prompts in Copilot and Word. I don't know the reason why. They wouldn't say why. And maybe someone was doing these things. I hope it wasn't the managerial aspect of their company being able to do this outside of using an authorized, system to do this.
Is this something Purview can find for you?
I don't know. We have an MVP on here. I would suspect yes. If I don't know if it's out of the box, but I know in Copilot, if you're writing certain prompts and you're doing things, even if I deny you the ability to do it, I know in Foundry, if you put in keywords inside and you building out that your model for prompts, I can see keywords. I don't know if you can do it that way. Matter of fact, I may try it. Frank, you have access to my system. Come build it out. Just log in and build it for me.
Hey, I'm retired, but I would definitely take a look at the audit with inside Purview and see what it gives you on
that's a good question. I don't know.
But I'm retired, so
You're not retired. We already talked about that. You don't get to retire. Julian, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. You were as fun as when I met you up there, man. I'm sorry that the time was short, but if you come back next March, I'll be there. I'll buy you a couple of paints. We'll sit down here. We'll tell war stories about, yeah, man, I went into Purview and they did this stuff right here and they were still doing this. And they wanted me to come in and classify a bunch of, text files. We'll see how it goes. Hey,
Yeah,
please,
guys, thanks for having me.
yeah, please get some rest because I know it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
See,
12.
Edward normally goes to bed at 8 o'clock. So when he hears you starting at 11 p.m., he's like, "Man, that's really late." I'm just like,
I'm more like a night owl, so it's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine for me. And yeah, I would like to see you next time here on the podcast. It's really nice being here.
Oh yeah, we'll get you back. I know we've had some ideas that we were going to dedicate an entire month to just Purview. I think that's probably something we need to do, and that way we can have a continuation of the show. So, in just having random topics, we'll create somewhere between 4 to 6 shows, send it out to our guests, and say, "Hey, here's a topic. Choose this and come on and just talk about this." That way we don't randomize you. You have this very specific topic to research, and we love demos. So we give you enough. We give you, a month worth of time. It allows you to build your demo, and that's what we generally call tech heavy. So maybe we combine Purview month with tech heavy month, and that everybody has to show demos. Because I know
that's cool.
I know internally we have to do it because Gary asked about it. Gary, when we're going to go back to doing the demo piece, I got a demo almost ready. I give everybody of our listeners, when we do our internal demo thing, I'll either go first or second. I think Gary wants to go, then me. I can tell you what my topic is going to be: how to use cost control as a security gateway to your agents. I can block you being able to use agents by controlling your costs, and I can monitor it and send them. I can tell when a runaway agent or attack is happening. Just like the way that we used to monitor certain things for Bitcoin mining inside our cloud environments, I can tell you if you got an agent that's doing something nefarious by looking at the cost model. Sure can.
Very intriguing.
Oh, yeah. So everyone, thank you for coming onto the show. Until next time, we're going to take a couple of weeks off. We'll be back. Do this. Big shout out to Rod. Rod, I hope you get everything fixed at the house. Thanks, everyone, for our listeners coming on. Thank you again, Julian. We really, really, really appreciate it. Until then, everybody have fun. Stay out of trouble. Right? Mark everything confidential.